Yes. All right, we are live. So I'll have to figure out if I'll have to look and see if people can hear us when the
Well,
countdown's going on.
hang on,
Just
I
give
got the
me.
notice up.
Can see hear us when the
Yep. Yep.
Okay, we'll have to figure that out, or we'll just have to turn our mics off during that point.
You can also see us on the side the same way that you could before.
Oh, okay.
So you got to find some way to like hide us while this is happening.
Okay. Yep. All right. All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We're going to try to do this every Monday night. We've subscribed to a new service. We have this live stream available to us. We're going to try to do this. So, what the advantage of doing this, I think, is that you can give us questions, comments, and we can try to respond during the show, create this community, and go from there. Um, this is not going to change the audio podcast. We're still going to do that. Nothing's going to change there. So you're still gonna have to listen to Jacob's terrible takes on audio podcasts as well as this video podcast.
Okay.
You might what is it? Squeeze blood from a turnip, right, Jacob? Is that what
Don't
it is?
don't try to say it right now.
All right, all right,
You
all
said
right.
it wrong live. You can't
I
take that back.
I did. You you
I
called me
still even
on it.
squeeze blood out of a turnip. I've never heard of that either. I had to
I
Google
know.
that.
I said squeeze liquid, and I guess blood's a
You just
liquid.
said
So
squeeze that turnip. That could have meant
did I?
anything.
Okay,
It
I thought
sounded
I said
dirty.
squeeze liquid. Yeah. You've accused me of that before. But, anyways, we're not here to talk about turnips. We're going to talk about the NFL Combine, which just wrapped up. We're going to touch on the NFLPA survey that came out last week. And we're all, free agencies a week away. The tampering period starts a week from today. So, by the time we record next week, Jacob, we may be linked to some free agents. So that'd be cool. And hopefully during this week, we're going to be, maybe resigning some of our own. But, anyways, Jacob, how you been? How was your weekend?
Good, man. At home, hanging out. What about you?
Yeah, watched a little bit of the combine with my son. I was surprised that he wanted to watch it, but we watched some of that. Pistons game was awesome on Saturday. That's like my gripes about NBA basketball, like no fight, none of that was. There was plenty of fight in that game. I loved it. I loved the emotion. So that was my kind of NBA game. I
Are you
watched that.
glad that I talked you back into it?
Yeah. No, I'm happy. I mean, honestly, Jacob, it's more my son because he's interested in it, so it's on the screen, so I'm watching it. And I tend
He
to
was
like
not interested into it either, though, right? Like, when's the
no.
last did he? Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You
I
think
think
it's just
starting
all of
off
a sudden the resurgence of the Detroit sports and better basketball?
it's better, we have a chance and we've been winning and I'm not, I don't want to get into a bandwagon or talk or anything like that, but you cannot argue that it's more fun to watch a team that's competitive and is, especially in a sport that I'm not like crazy about, but I love I love sports. I love competition, and Pistons are providing both of those. So I'm down with that.
It was difficult last year. Obviously, it's not a Pistons podcast, but it was difficult last year during the midst of that incredible losing streak. Just like, and Cade Cunningham had said too, like we are not this bad. We're not as bad as this record is showing.
Hmm.
And it was just one thing after another every night, and then you have to trick yourself as a fan to watch these games and be like, tonight's going to be different. And certain level of heartbreak in basketball. I think it's just one of those things because there's 82 games. It's easier to take a loss in basketball, just as it is easier in baseball. In football, every game means that much more.
I know. Yeah. We talk about tricking yourself into, thinking we're going to win a game. I mean, I was there plenty of time as a Lions fan, right? I know you were too. Like, oh, all we have to do is do this and we can win. Or, the ref would have made this call, we would have won. Like all those type of things that you make excuses for a bad team or a bad organization. You
Even
want
during that 0-16 season, though, I mean, there were a lot of close games in that season, but did it not feel like, man, we are just not going to get it done? Like
I know.
the fight looked gone in the team and
Yeah.
dark
Well,
days. We don't have to bring that up right now.
no, it's similar to what I think Bears fans went through last year. Like, all right, we're competitive, but how are we going to blow this? in the last quarter. I mean, what stupid mistake are we going to make? What player is going to make that mistake? Which coach is going to make that mistake?
Yes.
It was all on the table for the Lions during those years. And not to say that we don't make mistakes nowadays, but our talent level, the coaching level has increased that we could afford to make a few mistakes and still come away victorious.
Yes.
All right, Jacob. Combine was this weekend. Did you catch any of it?
I don't usually watch the combine like live as it's showing up. I actually did watch a little bit with Milo. The last day. I prefer to cut out some of the dead space and just try to watch the clips, see some of the interviews. You know, Always interested to see who the Lions are interviewing, see the formal interviews. Those are the people that they have their eye on right away, right? So, I mean, kind of an inside track as to who they're looking at right now.
Or
What
what
about you?
positions they're looking at, right? You can
Absolutely.
tell by all that. I the combine to me a lot of time like there's some interesting things. The 40-yard dash is only interesting for me when what was that? I forget the wide receiver that said he was going to break the record. I can't remember his name, Jacob, but
It was a Texas wide
Texas
receiver.
wide
Is it
receiver.
Isaiah Bond, I think?
Yeah, Bond was his last name. So he's, we were keyed in on that because he said he was going to break the record. Well, he went and disappointed everyone and did, 4.44, which 4.4 is good speed. I mean,
Right.
don't get me
Yeah, that's
wrong.
hilarious.
I know,
4-4, and you're like, oh my God, this is slow.
I know. So that's my. I have a question for you. Would you rather have? I mean, I like to, under promise, over perform. This is like kind of the opposite. He over promised, underperformed, but still his number is good. I mean, what would you rather have a prospect do? Like go out and show the confidence that he did, or would you rather him just, you know, not use his words and go out and blow the 4.4 and be like, I'm proud of a 4.4.
This may surprise you because of how I perform in our workplace, but when it comes to sports, I prefer do more, say less.
Mm,
As far as this goes, you're not on a team yet and everything. You're here just trying to showcase what you have. I'm definitely a fan of just, let's just show what I have. Let me, go through the motions. I'll show my drills, you know, run the 40, do the bench, do whatever you have to do, but don't necessarily be too loud or, you're already under a microscope at this point. You're not trying to get recruited for anything. There's no, once you're on a team, you can talk trash and do whatever you want like that. I'm okay with that. But this, I think, like I said, do more, say less.
yeah, I just think he set himself up for failure because the 4.4 is good. I mean, 4.4 is good speed, and now you're disappointed in 4.4 because he said he was going to come out and do a, 4.2, and he said 4.1 if I'm feeling good that day.
Yeah,
He's
right,
going to
right.
really show out at his pro day to, you know, to validate any of that.
Yes. And
So,
I mean, he, was one of the faster wide receivers. As like you said, it was a good 40 time. But if he wasn't already feeling pressure just trying to come out there and run, he did after that. He was talking up there. Maybe he was just kind of running off of the mouth or doing whatever. And then that one held a lot more weight maybe than he thought it was going to the point where I heard, I did not actually see this myself, but I heard that they booed him after the second run. Like when he had the second run and didn't break the record again, the fans there actually booed him.
yeah, well, he set
And
himself
that's
up for
tough.
that.
Right, right. I mean,
Well, I mean, I know that after he said that, I purposely watched him run. Like his words got
yeah.
me to watch him, but that's going to be my impression now of this guy was that, you know, you're all
And this may
talking.
follow him around for years.
Yeah,
Like, oh yeah, that was the
exactly.
guy at the combine that said he was going to break the record. Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes the bark doesn't match the bite.
yeah, I know. But it's just, I don't know, just a simple thing like that. He needed some media relations training before he went out and talked. I think.
Yeah,
How do you want to start this out? Do you want to go through the who the Lions met with? Like, I'm not. We don't need to go through this whole list because there's 30, but I've got a
we
couple
don't.
people I
I
met
was
with
just
in
gonna
that.
say, if you got anybody you want to pinpoint or just interesting things you thought about the formal interviews, we can just do that.
Yeah. So, you know, I first of all, I think all the numbers and stuff. You asked me last week, Jacob, do I think the numbers mean anything, or something to that effect? I'm paraphrasing. and the more I thought about it, it's like there's so much data out there. I really don't think much has changed. Much will change the minds of these execs based on how someone's run. I think two things could happen. Number one, you could have you can only watch so much tape. Someone could perform so well that maybe you go back and revisit tape and be like, okay, I need to look at this player again. So that could happen. But I think really what it comes down to is meeting these players and finding out who they are as a person, especially for like a team like the Lions that want football players or they're drafting a football player. Uh, and they want to know that all this guy cares about is football. So I think that we're not privy to any of those interviews, and even last year we didn't even get to see the interviews after the fact because the previous years on the inside the den we could get they let us inside the room, we could kind of see it, but I think the
And
Lions
that was a
either
great watch.
it was so good. I loved it, and I think a lot of people were disappointed that we didn't get that look last year. But I also can understand why they're maybe don't want to give away all those secrets or give away too much, or maybe they don't want maybe it'll give away like who what players we were looking into and give away something for the future years. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, they get you can have up to 45 formal interviews, right? And
Hmm.
you get, I think it was 18 minutes with each player. So it's like how many different, and I know you hear some of the players say like the ridiculous questions that they get asked in these combine interviews. I haven't heard of anybody talking about the Lions asking them too ridiculous. It seems like they're pretty down to business. We
Hmm.
got 18 minutes to find out what this guy's about and if he's going to fit our locker room, if he's going to fit our team.
Yep. Yeah, I think some people, though, sports psychologist gets in there. We're going to rattle this player. We're going to try to figure out, um, I think the Lions, at least from the Jameer Gibbs, they ask him a few questions. They show him a play. They ask him to break it down. You know, they, 18 minutes is not that long.
Right.
We've been talking for 12 minutes already. All right, and
Yes.
you know, and we haven't said anything meaningful yet.
This is
Uh,
episode what?
yeah,
64 and I'm still waiting for something meaningful to
yeah,
come out of you.
exactly.
No,
Hey,
but I don't hold the numbers hold no weight to me either. I also agree that I kind of think it's just the interview process. Maybe somebody, a lot of these guys that are on the fringe, this is probably a really good opportunity for them because if are on the cusp, if they're thinking maybe you're a fourth, fifth round pick or something like that, and then you come out and you run the fastest 40 time, then your name's out there. And then I think you made a really good point that if something like that happens, then people are like, well, let's go back and look at this tape. Let's dissect this guy a little bit more. And then maybe you do improve your draft stock. A lot of these guys at the top, I know you hear it a lot, like their tape, the tape speaks for itself. A lot of them come up with that answer. Do you feel like that the tape is enough at this point?
I would think so. I mean, the only time a tape wouldn't be enough is you got an injury, right? You want to see how he recovered. Um, you got someone that maybe just came out 1 year and they don't have a lot of tape out there, right? So you're still trying to figure things out. But if I have tape available and if I don't know where my video just went, but anyways, if I have tape available, I'd rather go on that than anything than, just sorry. Sorry, that was I lost my train of thought there. If I have tape available, I'm going to trust that a lot more than any combine notes that I'm going to gather. So, yes, tape doesn't lie for the most part, unless there's an injury or something like that, or some new information that's come up.
So then how do you feel about some of these guys that are at smaller schools? So if they're going to say, the tape doesn't lie, but for instance, Mike Green, the edge defender, uh, somebody we had a formal visit with, somebody that, a lot of people have their eyes on right now. He played for Marshall. So, it's like mid-American, maybe the competition wasn't as tough. Does that tape hold as much weight as somebody playing in the SEC? Or do you think that really matters?
Well, I
Because
think it
obviously
does.
he's blowing up. He might be blowing up the offensive tackle, but he's also blowing up an offensive tackle that is not going to make it to the NFL.
Yeah, and that takes a little bit of projection, and that's where your good scouts come in, right? I mean, they got to be able to project that. I, that's a skill and an art and all that, all those uh, superlatives that you want to use. I don't know how you do that. I mean, I don't have that job, but they have to look ahead and see that tape. I mean, they're going to be able to. You better hope that they're blowing them out. I Let's think about it as baseball projections, right? You got a guy in Double A. You expect if you're going to bring him up, he's killing Double A pitching, right? Or you know you're not going to bring him up. Same thing. If I got a small school, I'm going to hope that he's either got measurables and I could see enough that I'm going to be able to coach this guy up, or he's just a man above boys in that league and is destroying competition. Now you still don't know if he's going to come up and how is he going to do when he hits a brick wall, when he hits a penne stool. How's he going to react? Is he going to be able to overcome that? And that's where people at big schools like Alabama. That's why I think the Lions draft those big time schools, Iowa, Alabama, that play good competition. You kind of know what you have. Playing it a little more safe there, it's kind of hard to project those smaller schools. You look at Colby Sorsdale, who we drafted from, William and Mary, a small school. He's hasn't been active very much, right? And so our projection may have been off, or maybe he's going to take a little bit longer time to develop than what we'd all like. We want him on the field. But what
Right.
about you? What do you think?
No, I mean, I think it goes both ways. Obviously, you have to go off of the tape, right? There's people overanalyzing this, but I do think you have to take that in consideration. I think that's maybe how sometimes people both one get burnt, so maybe they get drafted further because of the school. They fall lower than they should have because of the school and because of the competition and everything. And then vice versa. You might have somebody that played in the Big Ten or SEC and played pretty well against competition, or so it seems. And maybe their measurables are better, so they get drafted higher when really they're not a better player.
Hmm. Yeah, it's hard to go. You look at Trey Lance, quarterbacks Trey Lance
Yeah.
got drafted way up there at very little competition. Anthony Richardson had, good at Florida school, but he had very little tape. He had like a year of a starter, and you're projecting him based on body height and, what he can do. Uh, that's why I'd rather have a guy with 2 or 3 years of reps as opposed to breaking out for 1 year. You got a little more assurance on your draft pick.
Yes. That's funny because just the whole case of Anthony Richardson, like the tape that he put out there was not good.
Hmm.
There's no way that they were looking at tape and they were like, okay, yeah, he's making good reads, he's making good decisions. No, he did none of that at Florida. But they got him in the combine. They said, oh my God, this guy's whatever he was, 6'5". Look how fast he is. Look how fluid he's moving. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's playing great when they're out there in spandex on the field in Lucas Oil Stadium, but it doesn't always translate.
No, playing in pajamas, as Dan
Yeah.
Campbell likes to say. Were there any of the interviews that the Lions had that you want to hit on, or you were surprised at, or you were glad to see?
Yeah, so I was glad to see, some of the edge defenders that they had up there. I think that was, to be expected. The linebacker Jihad Campbell out of Alabama, that was an interesting one for me because he's projected first round pick, top linebacker in the draft, but he may be there at our pick. Do we go linebacker first round?
Hmm. He might be
Some of the
linebacker,
other
but they might be playing more at edge. They might
yeah,
project him at edge.
right, right. Another interesting thing that I saw or a trend that I noticed, I guess, is that they had some formal visits with tight ends. And none of them were tight ends that were towards the top of draft boards. In fact, most of them were projected to be undrafted free agents. Like some of these guys are, the Alabama tight end. I don't even know how you say his name. Robbie Outs, maybe. His prospect rank is 668,
Hmm.
and that was a formal interview that we took. One of I only found I think 32. So I don't know if we took more than that and they're just not disclosing it, or maybe they did not. I'm not sure exactly. Um, but yeah, even a couple of the other tight ends, which I tried to watch some tape from these guys, and I don't know. It's just interesting to me because that's also not exactly a position of need, right? What are your thoughts on having interviews with tight ends like that?
Well, I expect him to have interviews with tight ends, but I also wonder, like, some of these interviews could be they're trying to find out information about other teammates too. They might have eyes on someone else, and they're gonna, pick their brains about the player, but also they might just throw in a question about a teammate just to learn a little bit about them. Um, you know, the
I
light.
don't. I mean, one of the so you got Jackson Hawes out of Georgia Tech. I don't know who they'd have their eyes on Georgia Tech. Thomas Fidone out of Nebraska,
Yeah,
also undrafted free agent. Don't know who they'd be looking at in Nebraska. And then, you got two tight ends from Alabama, so who knows what's going on there.
yeah. They have all those late round tight ends tell you that they're not thinking of drafting one pretty high, right? I think they're pretty happy with Brock Wright and Sam Laporta, so it'd be just a
Right.
matter of someone further down the list, or they could think that tight end might be an offensive lineman too. I don't really know the size of those guys, so I don't know. But
Uh, the two that I saw, two of the four I know are definitely like bigger body, kind of like receiving tight ends. And
yeah,
the guy from Nebraska, his own fans were knocking him like he can't block to save his life. It's like that's not typically somebody we bring in here.
no,
So
that's
yeah, I was just
interesting.
very, very interested by that. Also
It'd
interested
be
that there were a couple quarterbacks on the list.
yes.
Did you
I
see
wanted to
that?
hit on that. Another thing that you could say about these interviews is that special they could be special teams players too, right?
True.
They undrafted free agents. We might be looking at them, as getting them in for camp and use them for special teams. But Jaden Milrow from Alabama was in the formal interview. Very interested in that one.
Very interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Uh, second round grade on Jalen Milrow right now. So,
Mhm.
what does that mean?
Yeah.
I know Dan Campbell's not going to waste his time. If there's a formal interview, they must have something that they're looking at, something they want to ask him, something they want to do. The other quarterback that they met with was just an informal, the quarterback out of Memphis, Seth Hennigan. But yeah, the Jalen Milrow thing was surprising to me, especially with all the Hendon Hooker rumors that have been floating around that teams are calling about him, inquiring about trades for him, trying to trade a draft pick for Hendon Hooker. I don't know. I mean,
I, I'm not sure that they're ready to pull the plug on Hendon Hooker. I think that's all been out of shape because of bringing Teddy Bridgewater in. And if you're on the outside looking in, I think you see, oh, they must not trust Hendon Hooker. They're going to bring in Teddy. Number one, Teddy has a special relationship with Dan Campbell. That's number one. He, I think he was brought in just to add something to that room. Number two, I I'm going to trust Teddy Bridgewater in the playoffs more than I'm going to trust Hendon Hooker. It's just it is. Hendon Hooker hasn't done much. He's been in some mop up duty, right? But you get in the playoffs, you saw they went right to Teddy when Goff, had that potential concussion in the Commanders game. That's all that was, and I don't think it's like, hey, we're going to give her on Hendon Hooker. Now, let's say someone offers a second round pick for Hendon Hooker. Okay, maybe we do trade him, and then you go with Milrow, use that pick on Milrow, and then you have extended the clock because you still have Goff. I could see something like that happening. I don't think anyone's going to be giving up anything of value for Hendon Hooker. It's not like he showed too much, but
here's the deal, though. He has shown a lot of promise in college. Go back to the tape thing.
mhm,
And I mean, he's shown flashes, he's shown ability. Some of these teams may be desperate to get a quarterback, especially like you said, that second round. That's a lot of what I'm seeing the projections are. Is it maybe a second round, maybe a third round gets Hendon Hooker?
mhm,
I don't think it's necessarily as much us giving up on Hendon Hooker, like, oh, he's not worth it or whatever. I think it's more so, you know, he's a peacock. Gotta let him fly,
yeah.
right?
Well, I mean, you only
You
got those
gotta
guys for 4 years, right? Or
right.
and
We're running out of time with him, and he's 27. So
right,
like we're the offense is tailor made for Jared Goff. We're not changing anything around like that. Goff's the quarterback for now. It's going to remain that way until Hooker's contract is up, obviously. So you let Hendon Hooker go, get a second, third round pick, and if you got your eye on this guy, not that I think Jalen Milrow is a better prospect or better quarterback than Hendon Hooker is, but he is 22, so
mhm,
maybe he's got the upside. We'll do the same thing with him that we did with Hendon Hooker.
yep. I mean, sometimes having that hidden, no one knows what Hendon Hooker's potential is in the NFL or what he can do. And sometimes having that is better than having him go out there and show show anything. Like sometimes
Right.
it's best to just have that secret, and then people be like take the chance, and give you. I think a second round pick would be crazy for him. I don't see any team doing that, but people do crazy things for quarterbacks. And we talked about Trey Lance drafting him third overall. Just people do
I
crazy
mean, there was
things.
potential for first round before Hendon Hooker got hurt,
Oh yeah,
right? So I
definitely.
mean, that's maybe they're playing upside here.
hmm You know, I um, it's interesting. I don't think anything comes of that, but I saw a crazy thing about the Titans. Because they got the number one overall pick.
That's the
Making a play
Tennessee.
Brandon Hooker. That's like it was total clickbait, but I was like, you know, it's just that time of year where everybody's throwing things up there and see what sticks.
That's
Um,
the perfect storm for a story too, because of Hendon Hooker being from Tennessee. How many
yeah,
Titans fans you think are like, "Oh my god, I want this. I hope this happens."
yeah. Any other players that you saw on the board that we took an interview with that you were excited about?
I wouldn't say excited. I mean, it was cool just being a Michigan fan to see Kenneth Grant get an interview. He's also somebody that's potentially going to be there where we're picking later. A few cornerbacks on the list. I think overall there's a good mix, a good spread of guys around here. It wasn't like, which I think there has to be. I mean, you can't do the formal interviews and you interview 20 first round prospects. That's not
Right.
going to get you anywhere.
No.
So there was definitely a good mix. Was surprised by how many people had undrafted grades on here, but you're looking for the needle in the haystack. You're looking to see what you have on these guys. Maybe some of these smaller schools too. If you're not going to be able to go to the pro day, you're not going to be able to see them as close. Maybe you want to get a chance to talk to them now.
hmm
But I wouldn't say anybody else that's necessarily surprising. I know there were a couple of receivers on there too. The Stanford receiver, I don't even know how you say his name. Alec Aomanor.
That sounds
I'm not
pretty
sure how you
good.
say that. Second round grade on him, but somebody that we visited with, and we talked about that too. There's potential for a receiver there.
Oh yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you go receiver round two though, with the need for the edge and the building within the line? I mean,
I I just want a player, and I expect them. Think or Brad Holmes said, our lines, we're built through our trenches. So I expect us. I, if I had to bet, we're going to either go offensive line or some sort of edge
right.
or defensive tackle in the first round. That's
That's the
what I
safe
could
pick.
say. That's what I think that they'll do. But if they have an eye on a wide receiver and he falls, there Brad Holmes will pick him. I mean, I there's no doubt. I just think that they with his comments on toughening up the lines, and I don't buy into it that we definitely need like to draft an edge in the first round. I think that we could develop someone on the outside, uh, but would I like to have someone that's a higher round pick at edge? They tend to, if you get a higher round edge, they tend to do better than edges that are drafted later on. There's a correlation there is very high between first round picks and later. But also I think that just like quarterback, edge players get overdrafted just because that affects quarterback play, rushing the quarterback. You're gonna pull the trigger a little bit earlier on those type of players, just like a quarterback. Everyone's like, oh, you can't get a quarterback past the first round. Well, that's because even with a second or third round grade, they might draft him in the first round because if you want a quarterback, you just don't let him slip.
Right.
But yeah, I was going to point out the Michigan players. We did, Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. Man, after the flag stuff, I don't want him on
Pass.
my team,
Hard
but
pass.
yeah, I know. And then, but Miko's on the show last week, and he just did a tape on Donovan Jackson, so you could check that out on Pride of Detroit. We also did a formal interview with him. You got marked on here as second round grade for him, so it's conceivable that we could pick him up at the end of the first round. I could see us going offensive line for sure, up there at the top.
And I mean, I'm sure that they'll put the first round grade on. I forget how many people was last year. Was it like 7 or 8 players or something like that? They had a first round grade on last year. I expect probably something similar, maybe a little more with what I'm hearing about this draft class. If one of those guys is there, maybe we pick him there. I really feel like trading back is probably going to be a really big move here, because some of these guys are going to be available at the beginning of the second round, and some of these teams are going to be trying to get back in the first round to get that fifth year.
hmm
So I feel like trading back is going to be most likely.
It when you have those late first round picks, trading back is a real option because, like you said, teams want to trade up and get there. I like Brad Holmes having more ammunition, getting pick up a second and a fourth or a second and a third, and then there's a player that you want to pick, and you use that ammo to jump up and get them, and you still you end up with the extra draft pick, um, but you really get the player that you wanted to begin with. So I'm hoping that that works out, in that way. But Brad Holmes also shown that he drafted at the end of the round, first round, last year, and he jumped up and got Terrion, and that was good because Terrion slipped because of all the quarterbacks and offensive players that were drafted, and I was glad that he jumped up and got him, and I think, I think we're gonna be really happy this year that we jumped up and grabbed Terrion.
Yes.
All right, anything else in the combine that you wanted to talk about?
Nope, not for now.
All right,
I'll analyze this over and over again and probably overanalyze everything as pro days start up. But
yeah,
yes, that's my
yep,
first impression of the combine interviews.
yep. All right. The last week NFLPA surveys come out.
Real
Basically, all
quick
the
before you do that,
yep.
we got somebody in the live chat. I
Oh,
don't know if you know them.
let's look. Hold on. Whoops.
Put on your bifocals and find the
No.
button.
Yeah, I found it. We got Coda on the chat. Hey, Coda.
Coda. Amon Ra on the profile picture.
Yeah, love it.
That's tough.
All right. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for joining us. All right. NFLPA survey came out last week. Lions players, all players around the league got to vote on various topics. Don't have to get into all the nitty gritty on this, but Um, was there any, they voted on like treatment of family, food, dining, training staff, coach, anything that stuck out to you, Jacob, when you saw these votes or these grades?
Obviously, the head coach we got an A+ on Dan Campbell, uh, which I expected that, right? Didn't you? I mean,
Yes,
I feel like
they
that
had,
was a given.
yeah, five coaches got in that category as the same as Dan Campbell, which actually I thought was a little high, but yeah, there are
Yeah,
players that come to this team, especially for Dan Campbell. So if you got anything less than an A+, I would have been shocked.
yeah. The lowest grade that we got was on the locker room. We got a C+.
Hmm.
And there are teams that got F and F minuses on this. I don't, if you guys haven't seen these report cards, it's kind of interesting to click and see where these, because these are anonymous surveys from the players.
Hmm.
And for instance, the Cleveland Browns, the Arizona Cardinals, they got F minuses on the locker room. How bad do they have to rate you to be an F minus?
Yeah, I know.
Insanity. And some of the categories: treatment of families. There's teams getting Fs there. Food and dining area. It's 2025 and you're an NFL team, multi-million dollars. You should have all the nutritionists, all the like. That blows my mind that anyone could get an F in food.
Yeah, the Lions for a while were really bad in that category. They had a small dining room. I guess there's like limited space in the training center, so that was always the case. They got B for nutrition this year. I guess some of the players want better choices or whatever. Uh, all that. I'm happy about two categories. First, you mentioned head coach. I think that's very vital. And ownership. Ownership got a B
Yes.
plus, and Sheila deserves that. I I think that she deserves an A. I don't know.
Right. I was
You
just
know.
gonna say, is I kind of expected that to be a little bit higher where we've
Yeah.
been versus where we're at.
Right. So
But that's okay. That's still positive.
no, it's
Because
very
the
positive.
New York Jets got an F in ownership. So
Yeah. Expect anything less than that. You know, we were strength coaches A minus, which is good considering all the injuries we had last year. They players believe that they're being treated well and stuff like that. So I'm happy with that. Training staff got B, training room B plus. We're all our categories are pretty good. The lowest that we had was like you mentioned was the locker room C plus. I don't know what. they want. I mean, if you look at like the Bengals got an A, but they have like their locker room's crazy. But treatment of family for them was F minus. I'd rather be uh, C plus in locker room and be treating the families correctly rather than having this awesome locker room.
Right. I don't think the locker room is bad though. That's another one that's like I don't know, the Bluetooth speakers aren't good enough in your locker. I just
Yeah,
don't,
yeah,
what are they looking for, I guess?
yeah,
How bougie do
yeah.
you have to be?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you see there was a picture when they released this because the Patriots got an F in the weight room or like the training room facilities or whatever. And I saw a picture and it looked terrible. And it was actually a picture of the weight room. And
Okay.
somebody had commented and said like, this was like one corner of it and it looks better than this picture. Go look it up.
Okay.
When you think about the NFL weight room, you think about, the plates are loaded with the team logo and they got nice benches and, they've got well ventilated area and brand new racks and stuff like that. This looked like it was straight out of like the 80s or 90s. Looked like
Huh.
regular like iron or rubber plates. Like what is this?
Let's try to find this.
I think somebody else got an F in weight room too. The Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals did not do so well in this survey.
I guess they're getting. Oh, the Patriots getting a new locker room. I see that. So uh, yeah, I didn't. I was trying to find the. I'll look at it up later on. But yeah, you know,
Overall, I think the overall ranking was ninth out of the 32 teams.
I'm happy with where we're at. I
Right.
see A plus and head coach, and that's all I need because he's gonna get the right people here. That's all that matters. Um, all right, let's jump on to something a little more fun to talk about here. Free agency is coming up next week. So a week from today will be the legal tampering period. So we'll have some contract numbers out a week from Wednesday. So the 12th is when the league year starts. So that's when contracts can be officially signed. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're going to hear a lot of numbers, a lot of people being assigned. But you have to be careful. There's been a couple people being linked to teams on Monday and Tuesday that when it comes to the start of the year, they signed somewhere else. So nothing's official till Wednesday. So that'll be interesting. I want to start with you, Jacob. I went I went through all the Lions. Let's talk about the Lions' own free agents. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to go through this list really quickly. All I want to know is two questions: do you want to resign them? And number two, do you think they'll be on the team next year? I'm
Okay.
going to go through real quick. Carlton Davis.
Yes, I want to re-sign him.
Yep.
No, I don't think he's going to be on the team next year.
Okay. Marcus Davenport.
That's a tough one because obviously he was hurt the whole year. So it's like, if he's willing to take another deal that reflects the fact that he missed the whole year, I would be open to taking him back, right? See what
Okay.
he's got. We position of need still.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the defense. He knows the team a little bit better. So I would be open to bringing him back. My gut tells me that he's going to be wanting the same kind of deal he got before. He's going to be wanting just as much money. So I'm going to say that no, he's not going to be on the team.
Yeah, he's gonna. I would have to give him per game bonus checks to
Yeah,
keep him,
right, right.
and they won't count against this year's cap because they'll be unlikely to achieve. The next one, I think I already know your answer, but Kevin Zeitler.
Yes, I want him back, and yes, I think he's going to be back.
Yep, I'm with you there. Uh, Player that got hurt last year, John Kaminsky, unrestricted free agent. Do you think we're gonna get him back?
He's just one of those people that seems like he really likes it here. We've given him an opportunity and everything, so I'm sure he would be open to coming back. I'm not sure, have we gotten everything that we've gotten? Have we seen everything that we need to see out of Kaminsky? I don't know. I'll say that I'll say no, he's not going to be on the team next year.
I think they give him a shot. I just don't know if he's gonna be able to make the team next year.
Yes, right.
Another
Good
year
point.
older, coming off the injury. This next one's interesting. Emmanuel Mosley. Are we giving him another shot?
I don't know how you can. I mean, it sucks because I like Mosley, and he definitely deserves opportunity, right? But it's year after year, he just can't stay on the field. He's taking up a roster spot. I'm gonna say no that they move on.
Yep. I'm I'm with you there. Levi
Oh
Onzarike.
man, I hope he's back. Yes, I want him on the team. Man, that's tough because I feel like he has put enough out there where he could probably get a bigger contract, maybe than what we're gonna try to offer him or what we're gonna be able to work. I'm gonna say yes, he's back next year.
Okay. Go with Khalil Dorsey.
I like Dorsey. He's special teams and everything. Obviously had a really bad injury last year. I'll say he comes back.
I
Maybe he's not back at the beginning of the season. Maybe he's somebody that's out there or whatever, recovering. Maybe he comes back, practice squad, see what he got.
We're gonna need some cornerbacks back. Where our depth's pretty shallow there. Kindle Vildor. You think he's gonna come back?
This dude must just have an incredible personality and be a really good teammate and really
Okay.
good in that locker room. I mean, just because there's been so many times, he actually did show some flashes last year. When he got put out there, he did make some plays. So I will definitely give that to him. This just not consistent enough. And he's not somebody, if there were injuries or something, where like we have to start Vildor, it was almost like the sky was falling last year. And it's like, please don't put Vildor out there. It's like we just, we can't. I would have rather had Dorsey than Vildor. So I
I'm
just
okay.
don't.
I'm
Sorry, go
okay
ahead.
with him be. I'm okay with him being far down the depth chart. He looked really bad in that Colts game and got a bad rap, and that was the injury to Terriani got pulled up, but he looked much better throughout. After that game than he did in that game, and then he got that terrible call in Chicago too.
Right, which was not his fault. No, he definitely showed flashes. So I mean, I would not be disappointed by him being back on the team, but just me saying right now, no, I don't think so.
All right, about Iffy. I know you like Iffy. Think
I
he's
really
gonna.
like Iffy, and that's another one that's like, what he's put out there, what kind of a contract can he get elsewhere? Because he's not going to be able to get very much here because he's still going to be in the same role player. We got Branch Kirby. He's going to get playing time here. He's just not going to be, an every down starter. Maybe that opportunity presents itself somewhere else. So I'm sure they would want Iffy back, but I think if you're Iffy, you know, you're trying to go somewhere where you're going to be able to play more. Maybe he likes Detroit enough that he wants to come back, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he's on someone else's team next year. Too bad because I like Iffy, but he also hasn't played a full season. And since
Right.
he's been drafted, so there's that.
Well, and those, if you're Brad Holmes, you probably have that talk with his agent. That's what we're talking about. They don't care. What he's put out there has been pretty good, so they're going to try to find
Hmm.
a team willing to pay him and give him a chance to start.
Yep. Uh, Next one, offensive lineman Dan Skipper. He thinks Skip's back.
Where else is Skip going to go?
Hmm.
I think that's
Yep,
another one of those things where it's going to be tough for him to make the actual roster, but I think he'll still be here during training camp.
I think
Or
Skip's
he might be something where, if we do decide we're going to let him go, injuries happen or something, I'm sure Skip will just be waiting by the phone for Dan Campbell to call and he'll be right back here.
yeah. With a lot of it depends on Manu too. Like did I know everyone said that he looked like night and day last year, but he still had he had a ton of growth that since we saw him preseason. Did he make enough to jump to move up? Because Dan Skipper played a lot. I mean, we're playing a lot of heavy sets, so Dan Skipper, I know he's not a starter, but he's playing a lot. So you're going to have to replace all those snaps with someone. I don't know if that player is necessarily on the roster right now. We could pick someone else up or draft someone.
Right, right.
So Al-Qadim Muhammad, edge player, think he's back.
I don't think so. He also, he struggled a lot. There were a couple really big plays that he made too. So, shouts out to Alquadine for, having a good couple plays and showing up in big moments, but I don't think he would have really been on the team this year if out for the injuries and everything that we were dealing with. So I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, he could end up back in our practice squad or something like that. Those practice
Yeah,
squad players get
somebody
called
that's
up.
familiar, right? Somebody that's familiar with the team and somebody that's just giving him a chance here. Just
Yeah.
also likely because the roster spot's probably not. You don't have a better chance anywhere else. I don't think either.
Yep. Craig Reynolds, Netflix comeback.
That's tough because I really like Craig. I think Craig likes it here too. That's a real toss up for me because I like Craig and I would take Craig back, but I don't know. With Vaki back there, I don't think Craig comes back.
Yeah, I don't know. He's pretty good at special teams, so I could see him come back, but maybe slip into RB4 if if Vaki made the improvements. I could
I
see
would
that
like for
happening.
Craig to be back, yes.
Yeah.
I just like if I'm making a prediction here, I think he probably goes elsewhere.
Yep. All right. Tim Patrick, wide receiver. Think he's back.
I think maybe this one plays into like how the draft and everything goes. He also had a pretty good, after being kicked out of Denver, he comes here, makes some good catches, showed some flashes, also showed his ability to pick up the offense really quick. There, maybe there's a chance somebody's willing to offer him like a multi-year deal or something like that. So maybe he tries to go elsewhere.
I think he's going to be back with us, and I like that he showed up more in the red zone as the season went on. That means him and Goff are getting on track together. I think Patrick's going to be back next year. I'm hoping he is. I like him as a player. Last one, Jacob, and I say kind of one of the big ones for last. Derek Barnes. That's a huge one.
I like Barnes. I want
Yeah,
Barnes back.
yeah,
Um, just like some of these other guys that I mentioned though, is the price right? He's
hmm
coming off the injury and everything like that. How much money are we talking? How much is he wanting? I really would like to have Barnes back. Are we going to be priced out? I don't know. If I'm making a prediction here, I'm going to say that Barnes is on the team next year.
I hope so too, especially with Shep coming in as
Right.
defensive
Yes.
coordinator. I think that gives us a leg up because Aaron Glenn, he could. I think Aaron Glenn, if he goes somewhere else, it might be the Jets, just because I think him and
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn. But yeah, I, if we could, I mean, this week, if I could find that we re-signed Derek Barnes or Carlton Davis, I'll be really happy. Honestly, if we get both those guys back, I'd be pretty happy for
Carlton's
the
a big
free
one,
agents.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be really nice to have him back. That would
yep,
ease my mind going into the draft and everything too.
yeah. So let's talk about another cornerback that talking about coming back to the Lions, right? Darius Slay cut or announced to be a post June 1st cut this year. He's gonna be out there. A lot, you know, obviously he has history with this team. You and I both liked him when he was with the Lions. Uh, got the raw end of the deal during the Patricia era. Are you interested in having a reunion with Mr. Darius Slay?
Big play Slay. Come on. You knew writing this up. I have a Darius Slay jersey. I love Slay, man.
Yeah,
I was I was really happy to see that he got cut by Philadelphia. He recently had said in a podcast like he, if not for Philadelphia, he would be up for maybe coming back to Detroit. It's also going to be a question: does he fit what we're trying to do? If we have Carlton back, does Darius Slay want to come back and just be a locker room presence and not get as much playing time? And if he is going to do something like that, how low of a salary are we going to be offering him for that? So there's a lot of things that have to go into play here. So I don't know that he's really going to come back, but I 100% would be on board with that.
yeah. At what price are you interested in bringing Slay back?
At
Do you
what
have a
price?
number in
So
mind?
I'm going to put a dollar amount on it. I
Well, I'm
mean,
just wondering at what say he right now he was averaging I think he was 13th. He's 13th overall in quarterback salary before the being cut. He was going to be the 13th. Like if this is taking average salary of a player that includes their signing bonus and their guaranteed. You could go down and look and who's making more, or whatever. But average salary 13th overall, and that was at 13 million. I don't think the Lions are a player at 13 million. But what number are you comfortable with? And like for just this year.
you would have to go considerably lower than that, like 6 or 7, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you have to cut that number in half, I think, because I just don't. I don't know if we have the obviously we have a cap room, but I don't know if we have the ability to offer, especially I guess this is saying if Carlton comes back. because Carlton was at like 13 or 14 million or something like that. I know we had like we took on the dead money and we moved some of that money over or whatever. But you know, we if we get Carlton back, I'm assuming it's going to be around that dollar amount, right, or probably higher than that.
And it'd probably be
And
around 20 million a year. I think. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what the cap hit'll be, but his average salary is going to be. I
it's
mean,
going to have to go up, right?
20.
So let's say if we get Carlton back, I mean, and Darius Slay wants 10 million, that's you're bringing Darius Slay in probably third string, right? Maybe you don't even know for sure. That's just it's a hard sell to offer him that much money and to not be able to offer anything guaranteed. And I definitely don't want him to come in and take more reps away from Terrion or Rakestraw.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Amik played really well last year, and I think Amik said like 4 mil or something like that, 3 or 4 mil. So you know, the dollar signs doesn't make sense. The
I
fan
mean,
in me wants him back here, but I also think we're a much better team if Carlton comes back and we stick with the guys we have.
yeah, if we don't get Carlton, if we get Carlton back, we're not going with Slay unless Slay's taken like lower than what I think that he values himself. I just don't see that happening. However, if we don't get Carlton, I could see Slay being at play here. Now, scheme fit and all that, we'd have to check on that. They play more zone with Philadelphia. He doesn't also play the run especially well. Um, so if we don't get Carlton, it would be nice to have Slay as a veteran presence on that side of the field and a veteran presence in our locker room at that position, especially. I just don't know how all that's going to mesh out, right? You don't know how, you know, can he play man, or are the Lions going to play as much man? We have a new defensive coordinator. Shep may play that differently.
That's a great point. Um, yeah, because before you had said the thing about Shep and the defense, just Slay's not great in run support. He's not great in man. And, there were several times where he got beat last year. I also think if you're Darius Slay and you just won the Super Bowl, now here you are, looking for a different spot, how low do you go? Where do you want to go? Because, I mean, a lot of these times they're like, they want to go to a contender, they want a chance to win. He just won.
Hmm.
Does he want to come back to Detroit and finish his career here? Does he want to try to win another one? Is he going to try to get one more paycheck before he retires? There's a lot at play here.
Hmm.
I definitely think if we do lose Carlton, Darius Slay does not slot in where Carlton did. It's not like a lateral move. I think that we would be downgrading. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think we would play as efficiently.
I just think that you need some veteran cornerback play over there if you don't get
Absolutely.
Carlton back, because I mean we're hoping that Rakestraw makes some push to be a starter at somewhere, or if they move a Meek out there on the quarterback too. Rakestraw does the nickel. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen, but regardless of whatever happens, we need some more veterans in that room. We just need to have dependable people that can come in and play. They say you need at least three corners in this league, and we saw it last year. Carlton went down. We were lucky enough to have a Meek move over, and he did a great job at cornerback too. Injuries are going to happen this year, so we just got to make sure we have proper depth. I just don't know if you sign Darius Slay to be your cornerback too. Especially with our
Right.
defense. I don't know if you do that or not, and I don't know
If
if
the
he comes
price is
here.
right. Right.
I
If the
don't know
price
if
is
he
right.
comes
And
here.
yeah, yeah.
It's a lot of it's got to line up, so it's going to be tough. Um, this is not a serious thought, but I just Jonah Jackson, another former Lion, has been, he's been available for trade. Would you be interested in any at all with a reunion with him? Because I could see a place on the team, to be honest with you, especially if Zeitler doesn't come back.
9 million salary, 11 million in dead money.
Hmm.
Uh,
I think the
and
dead
you gotta
money's
and
on
you gotta
them.
well, you gotta come back after being outcast. Well, I don't want to say outcast, but after Brad Holmes basically, we were right. We were right to
Hmm.
let him go. We got a cheaper option than Zeitler, who played better than Jonah Jackson did last year. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think we talked about it before. I think Jonah only played in like 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
You know, he had the injury and then he got benched. Was that, the Rams coaching staff and everything, if he came back here, would he be able to slot right in? I definitely want no part of a trade. if they cut him and he wants to come back at a lower salary than 9 million, okay, potentially because he's familiar with the offense and he would slot right in. But I think that's over. We're gonna get cheaper options in the draft.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, and he hasn't been. I know he was injured last year, but he was also injured the previous year with us.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're gonna have to get him back on a cheap rate, cheaper than 9 million salary. The 11 million dead money, that's on the Rams. They're gonna take that. But if you were to trade for him, you'd take on his current contract and you'd have a 9 million base salary this year. I just don't. I don't think that's worth it for the Lions.
Do you think that they actually do trade him?
The Rams trade him.
Do you think that that's actually like he's gone?
Well, I'd be surprised if they trade him. I'd be I
Just
won't
with the
be as
dead
shocked
money
if
and
he
everything,
gets
I
cut.
don't.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know, but they treated him raw, man. Brought him back, put him at center at some point. It's like I don't know. It made Brad Holmes look
It's
like
like
a
when you
genius.
you lie on the job application. You're like, yeah, I can play center. I play center
Yeah,
all the time. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll do
that's right.
that.
I
And
play.
they're
Yeah,
like, okay, we need you to play center. He's like, oh no,
no, they've
I've
caught
only
me in my
snapped
own
this ball
lies.
once in the last 3 years.
All right, let's quickly. Interesting. Zadarius Smith. So he's got a $2 million roster bonus that's due on the third day of the calendar year. Do you think you know he has? If they take him on, then we're taking on some dead cap money and everything in that contract. We could cut him Zadarius now and get zero dead cap money. Do you think that the Lions cut Zadarius? Do you think we restructure? Do you think we resign? Cut and resign. What's your feeling of what we're going to do with Zadarius?
I mean, can we really? This was when did you say this was going to be? March
March
15th.
15th.
March
15th. Well,
15th is when we basically have to make a decision here. I
by
don't
that time.
know. Right, right. I don't know how you would cut him before then. Right? I mean, you don't know
I
what you're going to be getting in the draft. You don't know what else you have. I don't know. I don't think that they're going to cut him. You look like you feel the other way.
I don't. I feel like they're going to cut him. I think
Yeah.
that 6 million this year, 6 million. Then you take the dead cap hit. I think that is more than they're going to be willing to take on because our cap money the following year is dropped down a lot because that's when a lot of the contracts really take hold. I want Zadarius back on this team, but I want him back at a reasonable rate. Now they could restructure his deal and he could get all his money and try to erase some of that dead cap hit, maybe make take more of the cap hit this year and do something, so that he could get more money, but we take less of the cap hit. It's the way the Browns structured that deal. They put on a void year and then it's a little complicated in the contract how they did it, but if we
Yeah,
we
from
give
what
him
I'm
this year.
seeing, I don't think that because the Browns are on the hook for whatever 4 million, then 14 million. But if we cut him, I would have to
If
look into this more. But if we cut him right now, then we're zero dead cap.
we
We
have
say
zero.
4 million. But then if we his contract runs next year too, right? Or is this the last one?
Next year's the void year, and if we get the way the contract is structured, I looked this up. We get stuck with a $6 million dead cap hit next year. We pay 6 million for him this year, and we get 6 million dead cap or cap hit next year. It's just the way the contract's structured. Um,
Well, see, that makes things different because if you're
right.
talking about dead money next year, then
Yeah, that's
maybe
where
he
it's
is
at.
replaceable for him to be. He's 33 right now, so
I know because you're looking at him, you're hoping that he's, edge 3 or 4, and you're bringing him off and you're bringing him out when you have, whoever you're going to start out there, Pascal, a player you draft, someone like that. But also, it's going to be much easier on the other side with Hutch out there this year. So we'll see. But I don't know. I think that they move on from him or they restructure his contract. Those are the two options. I don't think he plays under the current contract with the Lions.
no, not with the dead money like that.
Yeah. All right. Uh, we're wrapping up on an hour here. I kind of want to wrap this up, but real quickly, fifth year guarantees came out. The money for the fifth year guarantees came out, um, and that applies to two of our players, Aiden Hutchinson and Jamison Williams. Aiden Hutchinson, we're going to probably pick up the 5th-year options on both of these. I think they're pretty much no-brainers. Aiden Hutchinson's going to make 19.8 million in his 5th-year option. They have to make this decision by like May 1st, so it's right after the draft. The Lions have to officially announce this. The next one I thought was interesting was Jamison Williams. Is going to cost us 15.5 million on his 5th year. I think it's obvious that we're going to take him. Are you and are you? Do you agree with me or?
Yeah, we talked about this before. I don't think. I mean, because JMO had like the suspension, all the things, he's only eligible for just like that basic 5th year option. So I definitely think that we pick up the 5th year option. I also feel like with JMO that we probably let him play this one out.
Yeah,
With Hutch, his 5th year is a little bit more expensive. He had the playing time, I believe, and he also had the Pro Bowl. So that's plus just the position a little bit higher. Hutch, we definitely rework a contract right now. I know Brad Holmes also said that or hinted about it, during the last press conference that he had. So Hutch is definitely getting a contract extension right now. Be interesting to see what they do with JMO. I think
yeah,
the 5th year is guaranteed. I think we definitely will pick up the 5th year option, but
yeah.
I
Just
don't know about the extension and dollar signs. Maybe that's a conversation they try to have right now before JMO goes for 1,000 yards again, and all of a sudden is a lot more expensive. But it'll just be interesting.
yeah. I think they let it play out a little bit. They're going to definitely pick up the option. Just so for perspective, the three players that would make around 15.5 million per year right now to be in the same boat would be Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, and Tyler Lockett. Those are the three players, and I think I'd rather have JMO than all those guys. So that tells me that it's pretty much a lock to you know
Absolutely.
take that contract. Um, but we'll see. It'll be interesting if we sign him for sign him for a long term deal. I just don't know if I'd stomach that. I don't know as a fan how I'd feel. Be happy because I like JMO, but also, man, I would not feel as confident as I say with Hutch. Hutch is a no brainer. Can't wait to
Right.
see that numbers and come out, and we'll be fine.
Okay, but now, like, if we're just talking right now, what number would you be comfortable with? An average
Oh,
salary for him
for JMO, are you talking
for
about?
JMO?
Oh man, man, I don't even know. God, to be honest, I mean, the number goes up every year, so you're gonna probably pay him more than you feel comfortable. But do I think he deserves top 5 money? No, but
No.
maybe in the top 10, probably is gonna happen. I would think.
To get him at top 10, we'd have to pay him at least average of 27 a year.
Yeah, ugh.
That's a
Uh,
lot. That's a
I
lot of
don't like
money when
I
you're
don't
already
like that
paying
money.
Amon Ra 30, and
I
there's a
know.
lot of other positions. That's why it's tough. It's
Yeah,
also why it's interesting to hear or to talk about, do we take a receiver this year and see what we have.
I know. I just don't. I don't know how you pay both those guys to be honest with you, but I also
You can't pay
really
everybody. There's
no.
gonna have to be someone in the core is not gonna be able to get paid.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think? I mean, would you pay JMO's 27 million a year?
No,
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
which is tough because we like JMO, the city likes JMO, and he performed last year. I guess we'll see this year, but I don't know exactly what kind of numbers I would need to see out of him to feel good about 27 million a year, because I just don't think he's ever going to be. We know what JMO is. He's a threat downfield. He's a threat on a cross. Anytime he touches the ball, he can take it to the house. He's not going to be what Amon Ra is and be your reliable third down target. He's not going to be able to find the seam. It's just tough for you to pay somebody that much money. I think that's also the conflict that the Bengals are having with T. Higgins right now, right? Because T. Higgins wants to get paid, and T. Higgins is a good receiver. Good,
Hmm.
not great, maybe. I mean, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but that's the conversation that they're going back and forth on. Because T. Higgins, I know he got franchise tagged again. What is that for? Like 27, 28 million or something. It was around that, I think.
Yeah,
T. Higgins is wanting 30 plus. T. Higgins is wanting like top 5 money for not top 5 production.
Yeah,
I,
I
if
franchise.
JMO, if we do the same thing with JMO, right? What do you,
Yeah,
who breaks? I don't think Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are going to fold if that's the, I don't think they're going to give in and just pay him top dollar if that's what it comes to.
I think it's tough to like commit so much money on that, and it also for me, I'm not a downer on JMO with all the stuff that he's had happen in there, but to
That means
dis
nothing to me as far as like the little suspensions and the different, like, that
I don't think it means nothing to me because like when it keeps happening to the same person, I don't think someone has that bad of a luck. But I'll go back to what Dan Campbell said. He's happy with them. He knows, I think it is 100% a maturity thing with JMO. It's 100% like, and he'll grow and hopefully he grows out of
I
that.
feel like he got past that this year though. They had the
Yeah,
whole gun thing or whatever, but that was a whole lot of nothing.
yeah, I agree. No, I he's
That's why I was saying, I mean, as far as like the suspension, like the betting and, like
mhm.
I don't think he's done anything so terrible.
No, but when you're committed 27 million to a player, especially if it's going to be like a 4 or 5 year contract, you better be darn well sure that there's no other small slip ups here and there because people will.
Somebody's going to pay him that money.
Oh
That's the
yeah,
tough part is that somebody's going to pay him that money.
yeah,
And
nope,
there will be no hometown discount, I don't believe. So
no, but also it's just like if you take away some of his speed, he gets banged up at some point, then he's not going to be as dangerous of a player. So I don't know. I would have trouble stomaching 27 million for
the
him.
cap's going up and everything too. And
Yes.
like I said, if he busts out another 1,000 yard season and shows some more consistency and everything like that, then
Hmm.
then we do have two top 10 wide receivers basically, and you got to pay them.
Yep.
That's the position. That's what you got to do.
Yep. But then
Then you'll just
you're
have difficult questions for other positions elsewhere.
that's what I was gonna say. You only have so much money, so you got to figure out where what you're gonna do with that. But
Yeah.
with the way the thing is that like some of the stuff that JMO does is you don't even look at his stats. It's what space he's creating for other players, and that's hard to measure. The Lions can measure it just because you know, they know the play they're diagnosing up. They can look at that and say this play what doesn't happen if they double Amon Ra. They we'll see how it all shakes out. But as far as a fifth year option, he's definitely getting that.
Yes.
All right, Jacob. Anything else before we head out of here?
No, man. By this time next week, be more free agent moves, or
I know.
we're getting in the thick of it.
Yep. Do you think we've signed anyone or like projected to sign anyone by the time we talk next Monday? Do you think they'll be?
We'll have done something.
I mean,
We'll
I
have
think
done
we'll.
something. I don't know what.
I think that we'll have some of our own players that we've re-signed, but I'm talking about an outside free agent Monday when we can legally tamper. Do you think it's lines are linked to XY player? Do you think that happens?
You
Do
said
you
the
see
first day
those
is
as
next Monday,
yeah?
so it'll
Well,
be the
the
day
legal
we record
tampering.
again,
Yep.
right?
So by the time we call it talk, are we going to be talking about? Oh, we're going to be getting this
I'm
player.
gonna say yes. There's gonna be some sort of big name that's rumored. Either the player's agent has put it out there that they want to talk to the Lions, or we've put it out there that we want to talk or meet with somebody big.
Yeah, I mean the signing wouldn't be official, but like Cam Sutton was announced. I think the first day 2 years ago. Um, I don't.
Just love bringing that up, don't you?
Yeah. Hopefully we get some of his money back
You got
this
that
year.
one penciled in somewhere. How do you know that?
Yeah. So, all right, man. This is it's been a lot of fun talking today. Again, live. Check us out. We're gonna do this Mondays 9 o'clock. If we can get our kids in bed on time. That was a chore last week. What last week you said your youngest come out and demanded goldfish crackers, Jacob?
Yes, at like 8:45, 8:50 ish. So I want goldfish crackers right now. And usually
Oh,
that's a fight. Like, no, you cannot eat goldfish crackers in bed. You need to go to sleep.
yep.
But I caved last week.
Oh man, just giving in. Now, do you make them rebrush their teeth after they've had a snack?
Usually they don't get snacks late at night.
Yeah,
No, he did not brush his teeth that night. I don't
yeah.
believe so.
Oh, okay.
Just let him
Yeah,
sleep with the goldfish cracker in his mouth.
yeah. Sarah's always makes them rebrush their teeth, and I
That's
think that's
very,
her like.
very good of her.
Well, I think it's more of a like a deterrent where like if you eat this, you're gonna have to brush your teeth again, and sometimes the kids will
And they
just
throw a
like,
fit about brushing their
yeah,
teeth. Yeah.
yeah, and they're like, oh, I gotta brush my teeth, yeah. Uh,
They
and
don't like brushing their teeth, but I don't think my kids like turning down snacks either. So
I just flashed back to the Office episode where he's talking to the guy in the wheelchair, and he's like, how long does it take you to brush your teeth in the morning? He's like 30 seconds. He's like, that is like literally twice as long as
right.
what it takes.
Oh,
uh,
love a good
Great.
office reference.
Yeah, great. So, all right. For Jacob, I'm Jason. Let's go, Lions.